The creator of Dragon Ball, one of the most influential and best-selling Japanese comics, has died at the age of 68. Akira Toriyama was 68. An official statement said he'd suffered a blood clot on the brain. Dragon Ball was first serialised 40 years ago. It became a huge hit worldwide, spawning cartoons, films and video games. The series features a boy who collects magical balls containing dragons to defend the world from evil enemies. The studio said he was working on several projects when he died. Well, for more on this, let's speak to Dr. Rainer Dennison, a professor in film and digital arts at the University of Bristol. Tell us about the legacy that he leaves behind.
Akira Toriyama is one of the most influential manga artists that there has ever been. He's influenced a whole genre of manga in Japan, known as shonen manga or boys manga, which is the most popular in Japan and around the world, influencing creators of shows and manga like Naruto and One Piece, of course, as well as being someone who has influenced everything from art exhibitions through to protests in places like South America. He's a huge influential figure within this field.
And tell us particularly about Dragon Ball. We can see some characters on the screen there. That in particular, a huge franchise. Many of our viewers will know it very well.
It came around in the 1980s, in 1984, and was perfectly situated in a growing manga and media market in Japan, and so was quickly adapted into animation, famously into Dragon Ball Z, the second part of an anime series that really took the world by storm. So the manga has been adapted into over, I think, 21 different countries and languages now, and the anime was broadcast originally in, I think, 36 different countries, so has had just this perfect international spread as part of its history. And that's led to it becoming popular around the world, but also becoming a major franchise within and outside of Japan. There's now, I think, about 17 different animated feature films. And the sales of the manga alone hit around 160 million copies.
Would you credit Akira Toriyama with helping to kind of put manga on the international map?
Absolutely, yes. He came around in a time when fans were starting to grow in number around the world and where fandoms were starting to share texts. The first time I came across Dragon Ball was when a friend from China introduced me to the manga when I was living in South Yorkshire. So it's an amazingly well-traveled story. And it starts in China. It's an adaptation, actually, of Journey to the West, with Son Goku, the main character, being named for Sun Wukong, the Monkey King.
And in terms of his political influence as well, we touched on it briefly, but how did he have a political influence in Japan and beyond?
Yes. He was quite a quiet figure, quite a reclusive figure, but he's always been very careful about controlling his materials within inside Japan. And he's been very popular there for generations because I think his stories don't just tell the stories of a successful character, they tell the stories of resilience and determination needed to become a success. And this is something I think we see reflected in places like Chile with the recent student-led marches using actual Dragon Ball replicas as part of their protests.
And just one more question, if I may. I mean, how would you also credit Akira Toriyama of kind of spreading Japanese culture more widely around the world? I mean, kawaii is huge now as well. There's even an exhibition in London. A lot of people have kind of copied that imagery, whether it's manga or kawaii, beyond Japan.
Indeed, yes. So Toriyama's Dragon Ball featured in the British Museum's manga exhibition a few years ago. And he's a major figure in spreading a particular kind of aesthetic that has become known as the manga aesthetic. He's certainly been hugely influential, particularly within the boys genre. So less in terms of kawaii, but more in terms of the kinds of humor and action that manga are famous for now. There's a trope of the spiky-haired boy, and that's very much a Toriyama popularized creation, I think.
OK, thank you so much, Dr. Rainer Dennison.